Hello, everyone. My name is Michaela Orange, and welcome to the Brown Girls Code HBCU Tour. Today, we will be talking with women from two HBCUs to gain their insights about what it's like to navigate through college, what it's like being a woman in STEM, and how to best navigate through a new space and make new friends. So, as I mentioned earlier, my name is Michaela Orange. I am a senior computer science major at Howard University, one of the HBCUs we'll be talking to today. And I am a seventh and eighth grade instructor for Brown Girls Code. And I am also going to be a software engineer at Google after graduation. So, a lot of you guys may be wondering, what is an HBCU? Well, HBCU stands for Historically Black Colleges and Universities. These are universities that began before the Civil Rights Act in 1964. And these colleges and universities were aimed at serving the Black community and giving them opportunities for higher education. So here are some fun facts about HBCUs. The first HBCU was the Institute of Colored Youth, which is now called Cheney University. It was founded in 1837, which was before the end of the Civil War, and it was founded in Cheney, Pennsylvania. Another fun fact is that 25% of all Black STEM graduates come from HBCUs. There are 107 HBCUs across the entire United States, and they're split up across 20 states, with Alabama having the most HBCUs with 14. Another fun fact is that six of the nine Black Greek letter organizations were founded at HBCUs, with five of them being founded at Howard University. So here are some famous HBCU graduates, or a common term that you'll hear is alumni, which is the term for a group of people who have graduated from a college or university. Chadwick Boseman, who you may have seen play Black Panther, Jackie Robinson, James Brown, etc. Rosalind Brewer, who graduated from Spelman College. She is the first Black woman CEO of a Walmart store, the Walmart store in question being Sam's Club. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was a civil rights activist, he graduated from Morehouse College. Alice Walker, who wrote The Color Purple, was a graduate of Spelman College. Booker T. Washington, an educator and founder of Tuskegee University, which is also an HBCU, graduated from Hampton University, which is in Virginia. Singer-songwriter Erykah Badu graduated from Grambling State University. And Vice President Kamala Harris graduated from Howard University. And there's a long, long, long list of other well-known founders, educators, engineers, actors, politicians, etc., who have graduated from these HBCUs. So our HBCU spotlight, well, one of them is going to be a young lady from Spelman College. So some quick fun facts about Spelman College. It is located in Atlanta, Georgia. It was founded in April of 1881. The colors for Spelman are Columbia blue and white. The motto for Spelman is Our Whole School for Christ. And some notable graduates from Spelman are Stacey Abrams, who ran for governor of Georgia a few years ago, and who helped register many Black voters to vote in this recent election for president and for senator. And another notable graduate is Alice Walker, who I mentioned earlier, wrote The Color Purple. So our Spelmanite, which you guys will be able to learn from today, her name is Kayla Taylor, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Kayla Taylor. I am a junior computer science major from Maryland.
So the first question that I have for you, Kayla, is why did you choose Spelman College? And if you could do it again, would you still choose Spelman?
So I chose about a mix of HBCUs and PWIs. And when I at first I really was not going to go to Spelman College because, I thought it was for prissy people and I didn't want to go to a place that was full of prissy people. But on my last college fair, I remember that there was the person representing Spelman College was really down to earth and really likable. And it kind of like, set doubt in my mind. I was like, okay, maybe this isn't full of prissy people. And I decided to apply. So when I got in, I was like, okay, you know, this is pretty good. They did like the early action and they like gave me some resources to for scholarships too. So then came to their new students day, which is called Spellbound.
Mhm.
And that's when I fell in love with Spelman College. I spent about 2 or 3 days there. It was rainy, like the weather was not good. See, that's the thing. The weather wasn't even good, but I could truly imagine myself, even on the worst of days, being there and still enjoying myself. And that's why I decided to go.
Mhm. So what was it when you were at Spellbound that kind of solidified it for you? Like, yes, this is where I'm meant to be.
For one, everybody was very welcoming. I don't eat meat. So uh, the food that they provided there, I was not able to eat. And when I told them, they were like, "Oh, we'll get you like a special meal ticket so that you can get like food from like the actual stuff." They made sure that I was fed. Um, and the person that was like hosting me for Spellbound, so you get to like sleep in a room with a Spellmanite. She was telling me all about Dual Degree, which is the program that I wanted to go into. She gave me like all this information on how to like succeed in that. Um, Overall, it was just a very welcoming and really good time, and I felt like I could truly be myself.
Yeah, honestly, even with just my experiences of attending Howard, I find that the the thing that really lures a lot of people in, myself included, is that kind of family aspect. Like you you go there and you even if you don't really know anybody like that, you still kind of feel like you belong there because there's just like this natural sense of community that kind of comes in. So that's really good. The next question is, did you know anybody at Spelman? And if not, how did you make new friends?
Before I went, I knew about like four or so people there, but I wanted to make sure that I made new friends. So, uh, what I would do is I would like it would be late night and I would go to the promenade, which is like the intersection between Morehouse, Clark, and Spelman.
Mhm.
And I would just like sit there and people would just come by and I would say hi and they would say hi. And then we'd become friends and that was it. When you're a freshman in college, it is incredibly easy to make friends. Also, of course, going to promenade parties where there's just a bunch of freshmen um, to make friends.
Mhm. So, for the people who may not know, Spelman is an all women's college. So, how how did how basically, like, when you were making new friends, like what was the most interesting thing about being around so many different women from so many different backgrounds?
So I think a lot of people came to Spelman with the misconception that all Black women are the same and all Black women are like me. And of course, they found a sense of community with that, but they didn't realize. that we're not a monolith, and
Mm-hmm.
that not everybody is here for fried chicken Wednesday. Like, not everybody has even had fried chicken. Because you have African students, you have Caribbean students, um, you have Japanese students, even so. You have like people from all around the world, and you have people from all these different backgrounds. Um, so it's like good to first of all respect that, and second of all learn about it.
Yeah, I mean, a common misconception about HBCUs is that like, oh, it doesn't like prepare you for the real world because you're only around like one group of people during those 4 or however many years that you're in college. But you you like it feels like it's kind of grossly underestimating how diverse an entire race of people can be, right? Like you I've managed to meet people were different who were vastly different from me, from that like they grew up in a completely different country than I grew up in. But I also found people who were vastly different from me, who we lived in the same state but different cities, but we've had different backgrounds in terms of like upbringing, where we went to school, things like that. So I think that like there's there's a lot of diversity that comes with attending an HBCU, and you learn how to view view a world outside of your own, not just with attending an HBCU, but attending college as a whole. So
Mhm.
the next question is, how was your class how is your class schedule different from your schedule in high school?
Um, so when I first got to Spelman, I was really nervous about the workload because I saw my spell mom, who was the person that hosted me on Spellbound, and she was stressed. So I was like, okay, coming from high school, I was in the International Baccalaureate program, which is way too rigorous for a high school student.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I decided, I would take only 16 credits. I was like, okay, let's just make this my baseline. And if I can handle it, then I'll go up. Because a lot of times, people in their first semester of their freshman year, they'll take 20 credits and they'll crash. And I
Right.
didn't want that to happen to me. So the first thing I realized, um, I think it was after I was done with my first day of school, is how little time I actually spend in school. You don't realize how much of your time is 8 hours a day, every day, 5 days a week, until you're out of it. So, 3 classes a day maybe would be 3 hours. The rest of the day is to yourself. And, it's not going to be in one block either. So, you might have one at 11, you might have an 8 a.m., and then you might have a 1 p.m., and that's it. Now, if you're taking like biology and you have like a lab, that's something different. You will have like probably like a 3 hour, 4 hour lab. But if not, you're really just scot free.
Um, so like a question that I I've heard from younger people, and that I remember when I was in high school, like my teachers always said like, "Oh, this is the case," but just to kind of drill it into their heads and have a college student also verify this question, who makes sure that you do your homework?
Oh, you got to do everything by yourself. Like, that's the thing. You may have more time to yourself, but the challenge with college life, a lot of people don't know what to do with all that time. So they're just over here like, well, I mean, I have only 3 hours to be in school all day, so let me watch some Netflix, or let me catch up on this show. Um, and then they don't do their homework, and then they forget, and then they get to class, and then they have a test, and then they fail it, and then they're just like, what am I doing? And they're stressed. So
Right.
I learned, like, as soon as I'm well, first of all, planners did not work for me in high school, but get yourself a planner when you're in college because you'll actually have the time to plan it out. You're not in class for 8 hours a day, so they'll tell you what you need to do. Sometimes even in the syllabus, they give you every single piece of work that you ever have to do for that whole entire semester. You can plan it out in a planner. Okay, this is what I got to do for the week. As soon as class ends, do your homework. And then after that, yeah, you could watch Netflix. Yeah, you could go to a party, do what you want.
That actually brings up a quote that my mom says this all the time, and it didn't really hit me until I got to college because it was like, oh, I really do have to learn how to manage my time. I thought that it was like when my sister was in college, I was like, yeah, yeah, the time management, blah, blah, but it didn't really hit until I went. And the thing that she always says is like, you do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. Um, and that actually brings up the next question, like, what was the transition from high school to college difficult?
Personally, for me, I was happy to get out of high school. I didn't really like the structure, and college was just enough structure, but like also enough freedom to kind of do what I needed to do. Because, in high school, they don't really necessarily care about your time. Um, and that's like a big one. But in college, they care more about your time. So they're not going to schedule like a homework assignment every single day.
Mhm.
Um, they might like schedule one a week. Um, and then you'll have to like manage your time accordingly. But it's not anything crazy unless you're taking like a summer class or something accelerated. Then yes, you might have a homework assignment every day just so that they can get through the material.
Mhm. So when it comes to time management, how did you balance school and having a personal life?
um Really the only thing I would do is I would make sure that I prioritize school over um my personal life. So in COVID, that's a little bit different. But when we were on campus, if I had a party to go to, but I had to study for a test beforehand, I'm gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna study for my test. Maybe I can go next time. One thing I've realized during your freshman year, they will always say the biggest party ever. They'll
Mhm.
advertise it as this is the biggest party ever, or this is the last party ever, with the biggest stuff. And I'm like, okay, they will always say that. First of all,
Right.
they say it every semester, and it's not just one; it's like five different parties that say that. So don't believe in the hype. Okay, you can go to there's gonna be another whatever type of party. Yes, there's gonna be another toga party. There's one down the street. There's like two over there. You
No,
can go you can go to one if you want to. Just make sure that you study first,
no,
get your
that's
stuff together,
definitely,
and then you can go to the party.
yeah, no, that's definitely real. I mean, like there's a lot of these party organizers will advertise to you as a freshman because they're like it's your first time in college, so they're trying to you know get the most out of that like first 3 months, even though it's like you got like 4 years, um, 4+ years to go to whatever parties you want. And I mean, my philosophy was that like once you've been to one, you've been to all of them really. Like they don't vary that much. Um,
Well, I wouldn't say all that now. I made sure, don't get it twisted. I definitely went to my slew of parties, but
so did I, yeah.
I just work hard, play hard.
Right.
You got your
And
silent parties, you put the headphones
that
on,
parts
you
are fun.
change the channel. You got different ones you dress up to, pajama jam, pretty nasty, you know, all that. But
Yeah, I felt like the parties that at least I have seen, like every year there's kind of like similarly set ones with a handful of kickbacks kind of in between them, where
mhm,
like you know, you have like First Friday, and First Friday would have, it might be a silent party. It might be something else during like freshman. When I was a freshman, during like freshman week, there would be like the like an R&B party, the white part, the like an all white party, like rep your city, things like that. Your occasional Halloween parties, um, same thing. Your pretty nasty parties, things like that. Um, and I mean, I would I would go to some. I've never been one to like be much of a party goer. Um,
mhm.
I I would always find like, okay, my like have my niche of um like have my niche of people that I can just like hang out and chill with and like do whatever. But I think like there's always like beauty of moderation, you know, like your school comes first because college is expensive.
Right, exactly. Like that's the thing. Like maybe I don't know, you know, if any of you guys went to private school or anything, but if you went to public school, you're not paying for anything. But
Right.
you know, then once you get to college, ooh, the
And
money.
and
You need to uh do well here because that's a very expensive mistake if
mhm.
you make one.
And
And
even
oh, sorry.
like like
Another thing
depending
that I do like about college, like you were saying, is you find your own crowd of people.
right.
You might not find it the first time because you know your roommate might be like a really hard party goer. I'm talking like 2, 3 parties a weekend with the drinking, and you're not with that, and you're like, I need to study. That's okay. You could find you could find someone down the street that has like similar values to you or who likes kickbacks more. It's no big deal.
Exactly. Plus, also, just a aside on the college being expensive part, even if you have a scholarship, there are a lot of times in which there's a requirement that you have to meet in order to keep that scholarship. So if you're not doing your work and you fall below a certain GPA threshold and that scholarship goes away, you're going to have to figure out how to pay that X amount of thousands of dollars in order in
That's
order to
real.
continue.
I know plenty of people that, you know, they've been like, oh yeah, I lost my scholarship, so I can't return next
Yeah,
semester.
like my scholarship requirement was a 3.3, and I fought very hard over that for years to make sure that I did not lose that scholarship. Um, just to just full transparency, Howard is not cheap. Is you're talking like tuition is tuition is not tuition is not cheap at all. You're talking like 30 something thousand a year. But next question. What made you choose a STEM field? And what was it like, you know, being around other women in STEM?
So, I have always, since high school, I really liked STEM, and I knew that I wanted to do STEM. I was, again, like I said, I was in IB, and I was taking what IB Chem HL and IB Bio HL, which basically means I'm taking college junior level classes. Um, and I really liked it. It was decent. But then I got to this honors physics class, and I really fell in love because he introduced like certain computer science concepts within that. And then my track coach, was like a data analyst. Because like I'm from Maryland, so like everybody is STEM essentially. Um, so I got to pick my major, and I definitely knew I wanted to do like biomedical engineering. But the thing with dual degree is that you have to pick like your first major for Spelman. And I did not know which one to pick. So you know what I did? I span the wheel. Don't ever do this. I spun the wheel and it landed on computer science. And I was like, that's a pretty good major. Um, so that's what I did. Luckily, it really worked out for me. I barely knew anything about computer science, but then they were really good teachers, and I didn't come to appreciate that until I got my first internship after my freshman year at IBM. And I was surrounded by a bunch of white people, and I was like, wow, that's the thing. You're living on campus for such a long time, and you're around black people for such a long time, that anytime you see a white person, it's like the sixth sense. Like, I see white people. Like, you don't understand it. Um, and then, of course, you go back and you come to appreciate what you have even more.
No, I'm glad that you actually said that, because a common question that I get is like, what made you choose computer science as a major? Especially if they find out that like my my like high school background, I was in the arts, and then I chose computer science when I got to college. They will they will be very surprised when I'm like, honestly, I heard like a black student talk about it at Georgia Tech, and I was like, sure, why not? And I just picked it, which I also would not recommend that you do. But like it just so happened to work out well for me at the end of the day. Um, and so like it's nice to know that you even even with you um, you just so happen to like come upon the computer science field, that you ended up like having a good experience with it and things like that. So that's always a good thing to hear.
Yeah.
So the last question I have for you is, what is one piece of advice that you would give an incoming freshman that you wish you had going into college?
Um, Limit yourself to one all-nighter per semester so that you don't burn out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just don't don't take like five all-nighters a semester. You can't do all that.
So
Oh,
that's for
and
sure.
you probably, like, depending on if you're like in a program or whatever, you most likely will be taking an 8 a.m. So be expected to, you won't be waking up. You might be, in a high school where you have to wake up at like 6 a.m. So you're just like, oh yeah, 8 a.m. no problem. Mm, until you get there and it's sunrise and you just like, oh, I have to get up again. Especially on the weekend, you waking up at like what, 12, 1
Hmm.
o'clock in the PM. Oh, and also, if you're a computer science major, the most important thing for success there is to know your logic and to have language skills. So if you are good at relating languages together, so like let's say that you're bilingual, it's a good major for you because you have to know a lot of computer languages and you have to know what crosses over in the logical concepts.
Hmm. No, honestly, that 8 a.m. point was really real. Okay, there, my, my first semester, I had at an 8 a.m. for an English class. It snows in DC, and so once like November, December hit, and it was cold, I went to class. Don't get me wrong, I went to class. I just really did not want to.
Wait,
I
y'all went to class and it snowed?
Oh yeah, like the Howard did not care. They were like, "Oh, it's a little bit of that's not gonna keep you from walking, is it? And then you'll be all right." Like,
Ooh. Yeah, coming from Maryland, so like Howard's close to home, and then going down south, anytime there's even a rumor of snow, cancel class. I was like, oh, okay.
no, trust me. You and I basically like flipped roles because I'm from Georgia and went to school in DC. So I'm just sitting here like, what do you mean I still got to go to class because it's snowing outside? There would be a little bit of ice on the ground and they're canceling school for 2 weeks. Like,
Yep.
um,
I remember there was a rumor that there was snow and there was like a state of emergency and everything. I woke up the next day, 75 degrees and sunny. I was like,
like it threw me for a spin. I was like, I can't. I don't know how I'm gonna navigate through this cold weather, which is why I chose. I was like, post grad, I'm not living up north. Sorry, like can't do it. Um, I'm either gonna have to stay down south or I'm just gonna have to move to like California or something, which I chose. I'm moving to California, but and the computer science portion is also super real. Like as someone who like studies language like foreign spoken languages as a hobby, I found that my enjoyment of computer science came from the fact that computer languages aren't vastly different from spoken languages. And making those connections back and forth have really helped me a lot when it comes to like being a good software engineer. And to your point, another thing that's really important is like you really got to pay attention in your first semester computer science course. Um,
oh, for sure.
it is like the foundation of all of the things that you're going to learn going forward. Like it's
That's
like,
definitely like the your programming language classes
mhm,
where you first learn like, oh, this is an if statement. Oh, this is a else statement, while statement, for statement, you know.
yeah, like so.
And a
Um,
lot of people, computer science, they'll be like, you have to be good at math. And I would say the only reason you would have to be good at math is for the other classes that you're taking, not necessarily for computer science
right.
itself. Um, but once you get to a certain point, like once you get beyond Cal 2, which is the hardest Cal you'll ever take,
What?
Cal 3 is easier. I said it. Uh, it starts to get like more conceptual, and it's mostly just a rehash of stuff from pre-calculus that most people do not remember. So if you have your pre-calculus notes, keep them. They
Yeah.
will be helpful to you. When you start going to linear algebra, they start talking about matrices because that's all you will be doing. Look notes
What?
up and be like, oh yeah.
Like wow. Um, but yes, thank you so much, Kayla. Spelman is a wonderful school. It is wonderful to see a woman like yourself being one so excellent while going through college, studying STEM, doing great things, and I really do think that the girls will be very grateful in that like they get to learn a bit more about the college from a reputable source and being able to hear your experiences. I think that they'll really, really enjoy it. So thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, guys, so the next HBCU spotlight will be Howard University. And Howard University is located in Washington, D.C. It was founded in March of 1867. The colors are blue and red. The motto for Howard is In Truth and Service. And some notable graduates are Vice President Kamala Harris and Thurgood Marshall, who was the first Black Supreme Court Justice. And so our bison who will be speaking with us today is Kira Brown, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Kira. I am a senior, a graduating senior from Temecula, California. And if you don't know where that is in between San Diego and LA. So I'm in Southern California. And I majored in computer science.
So, one question that I have for you is why did you choose Howard University? And if you could do it again, would you still choose Howard?
Um, when I applied to schools, I think I applied to like 10 schools. I think 8 of them were in California. Um, And I found that when I would visit those schools, I would do my research and stuff. And there was a list of things I came up with that I wanted, like, sports. I wanted to make sure that I was learning, but also that I was having fun. So those were things that I was taking into account. One thing I found myself doing at every school I visited, I was looking at the demographics to see how many people there were that looked like me. And I think it really, really hit me when I went to a school and me and my dad counted the number of Black people that I saw when I walked around campus. And out of the hundreds of Black people I saw, I only saw like 9 Black people. Um, so Howard gave me a scholarship because I wasn't thinking about going there, even though I had been accepted. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just go visit the campus. As soon as I stepped foot on campus, I felt like I was at home. Like my choice wasn't just based on the scholarship. It definitely pushed me to be a little bit more interested, but the most important thing was that I was comfortable. And I
Mhm.
felt comfortable at Howard.
Would you do it again if you were to go back 4 years ago when you were a senior?
I would. I would.
Yeah. Honestly, I I wasn't really looking at Howard either, um, because of the cost. And I had like mentally prepared myself to go to school in state. Um, but when I got the scholarship to Howard, that definitely knocked it up a couple notches. That really like shot up my prospects of me going there. And then when I went to accepted student day, um, I was like, wow, this is like really really nice. Granted, um, I I really wanted to go to school out of state since my sister went to school out of state. Um, but out of state schools cost out of state money, and like being able to be like, okay, well, I get to go to school out of state, which is what I wanted. I got to go to a school with a bunch of people that look like me, which was not. It wasn't like an extreme like yes, 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 yes. This is something that has to be the case because my other choice, I would have also been around people that look like me anyway. Um, and like it, the campus was the campus was pretty nice. Was I liked being like walking on the yard and seeing just a whole bunch of Black people being scholarly and things like that. I was like, oh, this is kind of fire. Um, so did you live in a residence hall, and if so, what was it like?
Yeah. I lived in a residence hall 2.5 years
Mm-hmm.
of my college experience. The half being because I left and did a program abroad in a way. Um, the first residence hall I stayed in was College Hall North, and it was nice. It was new, and they had it to where you either had one or two roommates sharing a room with you, but you had your own bathroom. And I think the having the own bathroom was what was that was what sold me to choose there. Um, there were so many people that they had to make some rooms triples, and I was one of the lucky individuals to get a triple. So there was 3 of us in a room. Now I was very lucky in that I got the single bed because it was one single bed and one bunk bed. Um, yeah, it was very interesting. Overall, it was fine, and I think that it helped me meet a lot of people. The way that Howard does it is each floor is designated to a certain college or major. So it helps you meet other people from your college. For me, I not only met other computer science majors, but I met architecture majors. I met chemical engineering majors. It was really cool. Um, when it comes to the roommate part, you cannot choose your roommate freshman year. Um, yeah, I mean, I can tell you a little bit about my experience. My roommates were pretty cool. Um, I think you have to come in with no expectations. You have to realize that a lot of people live very differently. And I think that's something that I didn't really consider. Just to give a couple of details. I got there, and one of the first things my roommate said with my parents in the room was that they don't use toilet paper.
Mm.
Um, and that was a little shocking. Um, and then my other roommate, she was international. She was an international student. And after living with her, after a couple of weeks, I just realized she wasn't very considerate. Um, but other people have very different stories. You know, some are worse, some are better. But you kind of have to just learn how to live with it. Again, I would still do it again with the same circumstances. It definitely made memories. More so fun than bad, for sure. The other building that I stayed in, I had a single. I had a kitchen, which I shared with my suite mate, but that was definitely nice. So I like the residence halls.
You know, I did not know that in CHN y'all got placed on floors based on major because that was not. So I stayed in the Harriet Tubman Quadrangle my freshman year. Um, that was not the case. I think I think me and my roommate first semester we were in a room together, and we were the only two. I think we were definitely the only two CS majors, but also I think we may have been the only two people in CEA on that floor. Um, but kind of a bit of a difference. So when when you're a freshman, at least from when I was a freshman, like the Harriet Tubman Quadrangle, or the Quad for short, is an all female dorm, and CHN is also an all female dorm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like your freshman year, you get, it is rare that you'll stay in a co-ed dorm, um, but you're more than likely to stay in a dorm with um, a dorm with your gender. But I was lucky enough to have a double. I think there was maybe only one instance. I think there was only one group of girls on my floor that had a quad in which there were four girls in one room. Um, the bathrooms were communal, meaning like all all of the all of the girls on the floor kind of shared a bathroom, in that like there were like stalls for the toilets, or like a set number of showers and things like that. It was I had a pretty good experience. I also stayed in residence hall for like 2.5 years. Same thing, did a program abroad, so to speak, and then got sent home due to the pandemic and things like that. Um, I my first semester roommate, she was very cool, very nice girl. We got along great. She ended up leaving, and then there was like a 2 month period, like that following spring semester, where I just had the room to myself. And that was kind of nice. I did get a little lonely, but I ended up a girl from my floor ended up rooming with me, and we got along great then. And then when I was a sophomore, we roomed together um, in College Hall South, which is a co-ed dorm, similar to CHN, where you have your own bathroom and things like that. But it's a co-ed dorm instead of an all-female dorm. Um, and then I stayed in Howard Plaza Towers West, which it's kind of like an apartment style in that like you have the bathroom, you have the kitchen, and then like 2, 3, maybe 4 rooms in a suite. But yeah, I mean, like it's really kind of a toss up sometimes when it comes to who your roommates will be, and it's very important to, like Kira said, like remember that not everyone grew up the same way as you. If you guys like referencing to what Kayla was talking about when we were talking to her, you're going to a school with people from a whole bunch of different backgrounds, and you have to kind of um, unlearn some things in order to be able to learn new things and be able to like expand your boundaries, expand your network, expand the people that you're getting to know, and just have like a pretty wide view of the world around you. So that's kind of the perks of being in a residence hall, is that like you're kind of forced to be around people who you probably wouldn't be around if you were to choose it yourself, basically. Um, so the next question is college difficult? How much time did you spend studying?
Overall, I guess I wouldn't say it's difficult. When I was in high school, I took a lot of AP classes. So I built a very strong work ethic in high school. When I got to when I got to college, my first semester, I think I had chemistry, and I'd already taken AP chemistry before. And then I had my computer science zero class, an English class. I had an online class, and it was like African history. And then I had something else. I don't remember what it was. But after about a month, I was like, this is it. It wasn't, in comparison to what I dealt with in high school, it wasn't very hard. And I was like, maybe it's just because it's my freshman year. Maybe it's just because it's the first semester. But I found it to be very easy. Of course, it got more difficult. Yeah, once I got into my classes for my major, then it got more difficult, like the ones outside of coding. But it's because I had never seen material like that. And when the classes got more difficult, I studied more and I practiced more. The time spent studying really depended on what time of year it was. Because if it was midterm season, I probably had either a coffee or a Red Bull. And I was probably in the engineering building, LKD, in the study room till very late at night. There was one instance where the professor had reopened up all the homeworks, and the homework made up 50% of our grade. And it was really difficult because you had maybe like 6 or 7 questions, and like, let's say the first time you did it, you got 2 right. The next time that you tried it, you had to get at least 3 right to get a better grade. I was in the study room until the middle of the night, every night for like 2 weeks, with a group of other people from the class, whether it be just 2 other people or 60 other people, like it was on the last night, and everybody was just trying to help each other finish. So I really like Howard because it was definitely a community. You weren't studying alone unless you chose to. There was always someone else who wanted to, help or just do the work with you. It was very collaborative. The other schools that I thought about grade on a curve. So let's say there's a quiz and there's 2, or not 2 questions, but however many questions, and you just missed one. So normally that would be like an A. But if everybody else in the class got 100% and you missed one question, you might get a C because it's graded on a curve. So there was no collaborative environment because it's somewhat competitive. So yeah, that's what I really liked about Howard. So everybody was trying to help each other. Overall, you can't get by without studying. You cannot. You have to practice. You have to study, but you can balance. A lot of the misconception is that, oh, if you're an engineering major, you can't go out and have fun or go to parties or things. That's not true. Freshman and sophomore year, I was out every weekend, every single weekend. I mean, it slowed down, but you can definitely still have fun. But you have to balance. I tried to work hard during the week so that I'd have a break during the weekend. Yeah, you just have to find what works well for you.
No, like I can say this from my own personal experiences. There is no way that I would have been able to complete my degree requirement if it weren't for the family aspect of the computer science department. And it's not just in the computer science department. I've found from other people that it's just about in every major in the university. Like everyone knows, like, we're all trying to, get the degree, have like a bright future and things like that. And so it's no problem for someone to drop a question like, hey, can someone explain blah 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 in the group me, and somebody somewhere is going to answer it. So like, I'm biased because this is where I go to school, but like you'll find, and it's I've learned that it's probably pretty true across all HBCUs. Like you're going to be looked after when it comes to like your peers, your even like your upperclassmen and things like that, just coming in and helping you. Me getting a lot of the opportunities that I've been able to have came from the upperclassmen that I spoke to. So, and also, yes, please, I cannot stress this enough. Study. If you're one of those, if you're a student who doesn't have to study as much because you understand the material fairly quickly, that's great. You're still gonna have to study in college. Like there's no way around it. You can try. You will get a slice of humble pie later on, though. So the next question is, what kind of clubs/organizations are there on campus?
Honestly, there's things for everything. Maybe not everything. When I went to some of the PWIs to visit, they had a lot of stuff, and when I'm talking, like, they had Quidditch from Harry Potter, like like actual Quidditch teams. We didn't have that, but like if you are interested in something, there's more than likely going to be a club, and if there isn't, it's very easy to start one. For engineering, there was a ton of different orgs. I was in NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, and that was really great. It had a great community aspect. There's a huge convention in the springtime, typically at the end of March, that takes place. And it's this ginormous career fair. Like, I walked in for the first time, I had never seen anything like it in my life. I thought it was going to be maybe the size of my high school gym. It was not. It It was huge. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it to all these booths, in the time given. It was a lot. But they really do a good job of helping you build professional skills, soft skills, even helping you learn new things in terms of engineering. And they help you find a job or an internship. Like I got my internship at a NESB conference. Um, and if I had gone this year or last year, I didn't because of the pandemic, I'm sure I would have found a job easily then. They make it very easy. And then I was in suite a little bit, but I can't speak on it too much. It is Society of Women in Engineering. They have kind of the same thing going. And then there was ACM, which is more focused towards computer science. And that was cool. They did a lot of computer science focused events to help students on campus, and that was great. I also did something called Her Campus, and that was focused towards women empowerment and community on campus. So they had a lot of fun events, like I think we had a beauty event, and they had a magazine, and they had this weekly thing where you could nominate someone to be, I think, Woman of the Week, and you would be recognized on their social media page. It was really cute. They have other things. They have leadership-based orgs, Freshman Leadership Academy, I think. There's that. Yeah, they had a lot. Too much for me to keep up with, but they do have a lot of things for different types of things, depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah, and they have organizations that are like specifically geared towards freshmen, like the Freshman Leadership Academy, Ladies of the Quad Social Club, Jules Inc., Quad Step, Quad Strolls, all that stuff. And this kind of ties back into the whole time management thing, where I mean, of course, join clubs, join organizations. It's a great opportunity to meet new people. You can expand your network. A lot of these organizations do community service, which is very, very important, which is why Howard's motto is in truth and service. And so you'll have those opportunities to give back to the community and things like that. The caveat, though, is that like you have to have that balance. That college is a test to see how well you can manage your time, and you have to be able to know, like, okay, I want to do this club and this club and this organ, this thing and this thing and this thing, but you're taking like 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever credit hours. You have to be able to remember, like, okay, I can't do all of these clubs and organizations. I can't go to First Friday or the fashion show or whatever because I have an exam tomorrow, or I have these things that I need to do for school. And because, like I mentioned earlier, school is expensive. School is this is a very important and pivotal time for you. You have to be able to be like, this is what comes first. And the organizations and all that stuff, those will always be there. But you're paying thousands upon thousands. Somebody's paying thousands upon thousands of dollars for you to go to school. And so you might want to ensure that money is not going to waste.
And then another thing, you should be aware that not every club accepts everyone, or not every org accepts everyone, because that was something that was different for me in comparison to the clubs and orgs in high school. You will have to apply, and in some cases, you might not get in. So just be aware of that as well.
Yeah, like, so there are selective organizations at Howard. And if you don't get in, it's no negative indicator towards you. Um, that's just, you win some, you lose some, but you live to see another day. So like it, you'll still gain those experiences, and it'll teach you important skills like building a resume and stuff like that. So yeah. The next question is, what was your most memorable experience at Howard?
Hmm. I think for me, there's a couple of experiences. Um, I think my most memorable one is when I think it was my second year fall semester, and it was almost time for winter break. And some of the seniors had got together and they decided we're going to throw a party for everybody in computer science. They fundraised, they went, they booked a house, an Airbnb to throw the party. They did research to make sure it wouldn't get shut down by the police. They took the money and they went and bought drinks and snacks. I'll leave it at that. They had a gaming console, they had a DJ. In case people got sick, from drinking too much, they had rooms where people could rest if they needed to. It was just really, really nice. It was a lot of fun. I met new people that I didn't meet before. And I got to see some of the people that I already knew open up and let loose and have fun, which, because I had only seen these people in class. Like, they were so smart, they didn't even go to the library or the study room to study. Just to see them dancing, that was a good time. That was a great time. Yeah, that party was, I'm never gonna forget that party. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll give my most memorable one in that I was like, wow, I really am in college right now. And also just more of like a more fun experience. Um, One of them was my first homecoming. Um, Mainly going to like, there's like a YouTube Black thing, where I watch YouTube more than I watch like regular television. So I got to see a whole bunch of YouTubers that I really, really liked. Like I looked over to like this row of seats next to me, and I saw like my favorite natural hair YouTuber, and I was like, oh my god, this is not even real right now. Plus, like that was the first time I was on the Yard Fest, and that was super fun because everybody was just having a real good time. Everybody was just dancing. Just chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, and all that stuff. And like seeing people like just reconnect and all those things, I was like, this is a really, really good time. And homecoming usually involves a football game. Most people at other universities, a lot of people go for the football game. Where I found was like at Howard, it's more so like we're going to have a good time. The football game is just like a sub thing with the actual like homecoming festivities themselves. And I think my most memorable, like, I am truly in college. Well, there's actually two. I had like 3 final exams back to back during the spring. This was my sophomore year. And it was just a group of other CS students in which that I was in the class with. One of the classes was for a computer architecture class that was like notoriously difficult, and we just all of us pulling an all-nighter, which I wouldn't recommend. Okay, if you can not pull an all-nighter, don't. It's just not worth it. But like just all of us like studying together was kind of like that community moment. that we talked about earlier. And also, like, this wasn't Howard specific, but it was um, it was something that happened through Howard, and this when I interviewed with Google, but it was a time period in which I was preparing for my interview because one of my upperclassmen friends agreed to help me because I had never done an interview for like a coding interview before, and it was the most stressful 4 days of my entire life. Um, but I just felt really grateful because I was like, you did like the upperclassmen don't have to help you, but they do because they've been where you are, and so it's like you really have the opportunity to like leverage your resources and things like that. Um, so the next question: what made you choose to pursue computer science as a major, and what has it been like?
I was in high school and I knew that I always wanted to do some type of science or math. Well, and then I took AP calculus. And then I knew it wasn't math and it was more science. I thought it was chemistry, but then I really realized I hated being in a lab environment. Like I hated wearing that lab coat with the goggles. I hated doing the labs because I felt like I was gonna screw something up and it wasn't going to work out well. So I was like, yeah, this is not for me. I need to find something else. So my very last year when I registered for classes, I saw computer science and I saw AP computer science. And there was something else, AP computer science principles, but I think that teaches you about the computer itself and kind of workarounds on how to use the computer. I didn't take that class, but I just decided I have an elective open. Let me just try it. So I took AP computer science, which teaches you Java. Um, so within the first couple of weeks in the class, I liked it. Like I was able to apply my problem solving skills in a way that wasn't math and it wasn't necessarily like the science that I was used to. And I will say this, I wasn't necessarily good at it. You know, you have to practice. Um, and like when you first start out, I feel like some people can get discouraged because college can be fast paced. And even my class was fast paced. And you know, you learn how to think more in a coding way. I don't know if that makes sense now, but it'll make sense later if you do computer science. Um, yeah, I wasn't necessarily good at it, but I practiced and I became good. And when I came into college, I knew it was what I wanted to do. There was no question there. When I came in as a freshman and took computer science zero, don't get me wrong, it was still hard. We had a Google instructor and he was very fast paced. And I'm someone who came in knowing how to code in Java. Once you know how to code in one language, to switch over and learn another language is not as hard. Um, but he was making it very difficult. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine what it's like for these other students who have never coded in their life. Because I'm here and I need help. I failed the first two labs and I was like, oh my God, what is going on? But then like I got it together. You know, I started working harder. I switched it around. Um, it definitely does get better. It just takes time and practice. And practice. I'm gonna say it again, practice. Um, it may be different amounts of practice for everybody, but you definitely have to practice on your own. Definitely. And you have to look for resources as well because your professors aren't always going to deliver. You know, you got YouTube, you got Google, there's Geeks for Geeks. You know, sometimes online is the better professor. I think that goes for any major too. But yeah.
Yeah, like uh, the professor will relay to you the information. And office hours is a thing. Please go to them. That's what they're there for. And of course, asking questions. But it is still the responsibility of you as a student to, if there's, to go out and find more resources, just in case you're like, okay, this method of explanation may not necessarily work for me. You may end up finding a video on YouTube or whatever, and that explains the exact same information, but it just so happens that the light bulb just turned on for you, and that's perfectly fine. It's funny that she mentions like it must have been difficult for people who never coded before coming into this class, and that person was me. That um, I am a firm believer that you can you can learn how to code in a way that you can learn how to ride a bicycle. Like it, you're gonna fall down a few times. You may fall down a whole bunch of times. It really varies from person to person. But the if you keep getting back up, you're gonna eventually learn how to ride the bike, right? And also, don't be afraid to break stuff. The thing about a lot of these computer science assignments is if your code breaks, it's not gonna blow the computer up. Like it's you'll be fine. Like it's okay. Like you'll all you just have to do is just like ask your teacher, ask your professor, or ask a classmate, or ask an upperclassman. I mean, ask me even. I'll probably have free time. Like, hey, my code is broken. I keep seeing this thing. There's a whole bunch of red stuff and it scares me, blah blah. And then somebody will tell you what's wrong, and then all you have to do is fix it, and then it's like nothing ever happened.
One thing that
Yeah.
I learned was that, especially when you run it for the first time, it's probably not going to work.
Mhm.
There have been very few times where I've ran it the first time and it worked with no errors. So just
Yeah.
throwing it out there.
Like it's your code will break more often than it won't, to a point where you'll get excited when your code actually does work. um, like you, there have been a lot of instances. I mean, Kira and I we're both about to graduate, and I can tell you now, at least for me, as I was working on my senior design project, there were times where my code worked, and I was just like, yes, like just super duper excited, and that feeling doesn't go away either. Like there will be iterations of like broke, and then next thing you know, it's like it works, and then you're like, okay. um, so the last question that I have for you is, what advice would you give a freshman that you wish you were given?
Um, I think going into college, definitely just be yourself. I mean, I followed that advice, but um, the biggest lessons that I learned in college were, I guess, friendships and learning how to deal with other people, because I had leadership roles in high school, but like I thought that I knew how to deal with all different types of personalities. I was wrong. um, so definitely, I would say learn how to read people. I'm the type of person who sees someone and sees all the good sides about them. Even if I see some of the bad sides, I'm like, that doesn't make who they are. Um, that led me to ignore some red flags. So I would say look at who someone is as a person as a whole, um, and take them for that. Be very selective about who you let in your life, because not everybody is there um, that cares about you truly. They may just be there being selfish, taking from you, but not necessarily giving back. So definitely look out for that. I trust that you girls know about safety and all that. And if you don't know, I'm sure you'll learn. Um, Definitely don't succumb to peer pressure. Um, I never did. Even when my friends were like, oh, let's drink, have a drink. If I didn't feel like it, I wasn't going to drink. You know, that type of stuff is always going to be there in the future. Um, do what you want to do. Like, it's your college experience, make the most of it. Don't get stuck doing what you don't want to do, or having someone like literally suck the life out of you because they don't care about you. Spend time around the people that you want to be around, that care about you. That will make your college experience the most fun, for sure.
Yeah, like there's there's always going to be an even most people that you come across will be like relatively decent people. Um, the the thing that you just always have to keep in mind is, and it's not just with just friendships, it's with life in general, like make sure that you that you feel valued in the people that you're around. Um, because at the end of the day, that's what you are. You are valuable. And if you don't feel valued around a person, that is that's the concern. That's the concern that needs to be addressed. I think one piece of advice, these weren't things that I didn't do that I wish I did do, but it's more so like things that I would probably also tell a freshman based off of my experiences. Your safety is very, very important. Follow your gut. If like if you don't feel comfortable going to some place, don't go. If you don't feel comfortable going out late at night, don't go out late at night. Um, just make sure, and this is another thing, I didn't mention it, but now that it's come to my mind, I'm going to mention it now. You as a college student, you're probably going to go to a party or two, and not myself or neither Kira nor Caleb will tell you not to, because that's it's up to you to decide whether or not you like going to parties and things like that. Make sure that you have a group of people that you go with and that you leave with. Do not leave any person that you came with by themselves. Like that's simply just non-negotiable. Um, Make sure that you have people that you can call, whether it's a friend or a family member, just in case of an emergency or anything like that. Make sure you have the campus police phone number saved in your phone. Just like make sure that you have those resources for like that you can reach out to, not just in terms of like physical safety and things like that, but like if you're like, okay, um, I need to talk to my professor and things like that. Like make sure that those resources at your university, whether you decide to go to Howard or Spelman or University of Georgia or Harvard or Stanford or whatever, like there are resources that your university has laid out for you. Um, Make sure that you use them, um, because those you may find a lot, like a whole lot of use in them, whether it be something as simple as going to your professor's office hours every week, which even which not only can help you when it comes to like, okay, you're getting help for school. I personally wish I went to office hours more. But you're also building a relationship with your professor, and if you're interested, if you need it, that's someone that you can reach out to when it comes to letter of recommendations and all that stuff. But also, like, if you need to speak to a counselor, like I don't think there's a university that doesn't have a counselor thing set up. Like speaking with them, um, making good connections with your resident advisor, because your resident advisor is there for you. Like there are loads of people that are there for you during your 3, 4, 5, 12, however many years you're in college. Like just use them, like use them. Call your parents often. Your parents miss you a lot when you're in college. Your parents may be an emotional wreck when it's time for you to move. Just let them let them have that moment. If they want to, I don't know, cook you food, make your bed, do something for you, let them do it, because you're their child and now you're leaving home, and that's a lot for them to have to deal with. Especially where, like, in my experience, I was the youngest of 3 girls, and so like I was the last person to leave the house, and I like as an angsty teenager, I was like, oh my god, why are they like this? But now as an adult, I'm like, I should have, I should have recognized that this is a lot for them, having an 18-year-old girl that's going to school in the big city. But yeah, thank you so much, Kira, for taking the time to come and speak with us. Hopefully, for any of you who may be interested in attending Howard in the future, this has given you some insight as to what the university is like. If you have any other questions regarding Howard, feel free to ask me, because yeah. Thank you so much, and you have a good rest of your day. And to all of the girls, I leave you with this quote from Booker T. Washington, a graduate from Hampton University: "Education is not a thing apart from life, not a system nor a philosophy. It is direct teaching on how to live and work." So I hope y'all have a good one. And Kira, again, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anytime.